Welcome to the Hidden Mystery Channel. Make yourselves comfortable as we get started. Recently, London was shaken by a strange, yet strangely familiar story. In a place called Hyde Park, another person has disappeared. The police didn't even need to search for suspects. They came forward on their own, telling a rather unusual story. But instead of investigating, the police simply prepared the case for court. Imagine their surprise when several years later, the missing person reappeared in the very same spot in the park. So, what did this poor missing soul have to say, and where had he been? You'll find out in this video. In fact, today we'll be discussing much more than just this case. Strange disappearances, eyewitness accounts, and more. Enjoy watching. One late evening in London, a group of 4 men was heading to a pub, passing through the well-known Hyde Park. One of the friends thought it would be fun to search for coins in a drained fountain, but as soon as he stepped behind a statue, his friends lost sight of him. Thinking he might have fallen through a hidden trap door or something similar, they called for the authorities. However, no such trap door existed in the fountain's design. In the end, the men were detained on suspicion of abduction, and the case was taken to court. But to everyone's shock, the missing friend reappeared several years later. He acted as if nothing had happened, surprised to learn that so much time had passed. From his perspective, only a few moments had gone by, and he was disappointed that they never made it to the pub. For making such a statement, he could have faced jail time along with his friends, as the situation began to resemble some kind of sinister scheme. However, in the end, everyone was released. The missing friend swore he had no idea what everyone was talking about, as if it were some elaborate prank. But for his friends, it was no laughing matter. After much convincing, he agreed to try hypnosis. What he described was chilling. In his words, "It's a strange place. Everything is shrouded in a bluish mist. It begins to take shape. I scream and step back, hoping my friends are behind me. But there is only fog. It solidifies, and it feels like something is tearing pieces away from me, not of flesh, but of my soul. I feel like an empty shell. It's taking part of me, filling in the gaps with itself. It's no longer me." His friends didn't know how to react. All they could say was that there was fog that night. Interestingly, similar stories have occurred there before. In mid-2008, a similar case happened to a married couple in the same spot. The woman wanted a photo with a statue, but when her husband walked around it, she was gone. He went through a similar experience, accused and later released when his wife reappeared years later. But there was one problem. He couldn't continue living with her. He claimed she did strange things. She'd leave the house at night, didn't understand how to use appliances, frightened him with tales of another realm, and ate raw food. In 2004, a 27-year-old tourist disappeared in the same park. Her case wasn't seriously investigated until she suddenly returned to her home country, and her disappearance was reported. Local journalists have uncovered numerous similar stories in the library, dating back to the mid-19th century. Yet no one, then or now, has seen anything supernatural in these tales. But if the stories of the victims are true, it's entirely possible that these foggy entities have long been a part of our world. In that case, we must wonder, what do they want? There are also cases of sudden appearances, which I'd call reverse disappearances. Whether this is relevant, you'll soon understand. Many of you probably remember the incident in New York, where a man appeared suddenly in the middle of a street, as if out of thin air. He was struck by a car immediately, as he had materialized out of nowhere. An investigation concluded he might have come from another time. Or think of the story of a person who appeared inside a moving train, dressed in old-fashioned clothes. He screamed and looked terrified. In mere seconds, he vanished into thin air, leaving all witnesses in shock. Yes, people have disappeared and appeared in the most unusual places, and there are many such stories. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you likely know I have numerous videos on this topic: mysterious, strange disappearances. There have also been cases where not only people appeared out of nowhere, but objects, buildings, and even trees. On the internet, I found an unusual story titled "The Unsolved Mystery of the Wasteland." It's about a real event when overnight tall maple bushes suddenly appeared in a large vacant lot, obstructing the view of a private security team observing a competitor's property. After it was published, readers actively discussed the story, theorizing about the cause and sharing similar stories. Many, however, took it as further evidence that we live in an artificially created simulation, a matrix that can create anything, anywhere, at any time. Here's yet another story of unusual appearances. A man wrote in saying he and his wife had experienced many unexplained phenomena. Here's one such story. Dog owners who live in high-rise buildings will understand this well. Almost every dog owner has a well-worn route for walking their beloved pet. Behind our building, there's a small vacant lot where locals take their dogs. Only one path cuts through it, as the rest is overgrown with dense bushes. About 6 years ago, my wife and I were walking our dogs, strolling along and chatting, when we stopped, stunned. Right in front of us, growing in the middle of the path, was a walnut tree, and by the look of it, it was at least 10 years old. We were in shock. Imagine, yesterday it wasn't there. We examined the area closely. It seemed as if the path ran right through the tree's trunk. How could a fully grown tree appear when it wasn't there the day before? The walnut tree still stands, and we've simply created a new path around it. Friends, feel free to share your theories about what might explain all these strange phenomena. Have you, your relatives, friends, or acquaintances ever encountered similar events? And if you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Wishing you all the best.